Assalamu alaikum and good morning, my dear all friends. It's me, Ahmad Rashid Ahmadzai, again with a new English lecture, starting with the name of Almighty Allah, who is most gracious and most merciful. Before starting our today's lecture, I want you all to like and subscribe my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about one of the most interesting English tense called present perfect progressive tense or present perfect continuous tense. What is present perfect progressive tense? Before talking about present perfect progressive tense, I want to give you some information about about the perfect tenses and also about the tense. As I mentioned in my previous lecture, the tense talk about or denote the time of the action, or it means it talk about the time of the actions. And what is perfect tense? Perfect tense are those tenses that we cannot particularize or we cannot talk about an action with a particular time. And today we are going to talk about a present perfect progressive tense. And as we know in progressive tense that we need to use to be verb plus a present participle form of the verb. It means we need to use a to be verb with a verb ing. Okay, now on let's define present perfect progressive tense. What is present perfect progressive tense? Simply, we can define present perfect progressive tense like this one: actions or event begin in the past and continues up to the present. Also, we can define present perfect progressive tense like this: that we can use present perfect progressive tense to talk about those actions that they started in the past and they can come to the present. It means when we are talking about the action that they are ongoing and they already started in the past and they are we can see them now on in the present. On the time we can use from present perfect progressive tense. Before talking about the usage of present perfect progressive tense, let's have an example. There is an example that says Jawad has been watching TV. As I mentioned in my previous lectures, that when we're using from two of verbs, for third singulars we need to use from has, and for first person and second person we need to use from have. For example, Jawad has been watching TV. In this sentence, there is something new for the listeners or for the student. What is this? It is been. What is been? Been is the third form or a past participle form of verb be or to be verbs, and we also need to use the verb ing or present participle after our past participle. It means we're using two participles together. It means first the present participle after the past participle and present perfect progressive tense. Okay, now on let's talk about the usage of present perfect progressive tense. That where can we use present perfect progressive tense? The first place that we can use present perfect progressive tense is to talk about unfinished action with sense and form. As I mentioned in my previous lecture, that we also can use the present perfect tense with sense and form, talk about unfinished action, but they are not on ongoing. There is a trick that we can catch on, or we can discover the main difference between present perfect progressive and present perfect tense. Present perfect focus or centralize on the subject, but present perfect progressive tense is centralized and also focus on the action or on the verb of the sentence. In this sentence, in the first usage, we consider present perfect progressive tense can use to talk about unfinished action, but we need to use from sense and form. For example, I considered I have been teaching English since 2002. It means that still I'm in duration of teaching and this action is ongoing. Okay. Let's talk about the second usage of present perfect progressive tense. The second place that we can use present perfect progressive tense is also we can use present perfect progressive tense to talk about temporary action. What are temporary action? Temporary action are those actions that they are not permanent, and those actions which are happening or those situations that they are happening recently, we can use present perfect progressive tense to talk about them. But something that I want to mention in the second usage, if you want to use present perfect progressive tense to talk about temporary situation, you need to use recently in your sentence. For example, you consider Ali has been eating a lot recently. It means this is the temporary action. It means Ali is eating a lot recently, but he may not eat more or he may not eat a lot in the future. Okay, let's talk about the third usage of present perfect progressive tense. The third place that we can use present perfect progressive tense is we use it to talk talk about present result. It means that when we want to indicate a present result, we can use from present perfect progressive tense. But we need to be sure of one thing, that the action is finished. It means the action are already finished, but we can see we can feel their effects in the present. For example, in this sentence, I consider he has been working a lot. It means that now on the action is completely finished. Okay, now on the effect is can be felt in the present. Now on he is tired. That was why he is tired, because he has been working a lot. Okay. we talked about three main use of present perfect progressive tense. Now on, let's talk about a structure of present perfect progressive tense. The main structure for present perfect progressive tense has subject plus have has been plus verb ing plus complement. And as I mentioned, that we use have for first and second person, and we use has for third person. And been is the past participle form of verb be, and the verb ing which comes after the be is called present participle or verb ing, which I mentioned on that part. Already we predetermined a simple structure in this part. Okay, let's talk about the structure. In this place, we're going to deploy the structures. The first formative structure is subject plus have has plus been plus verb ing plus complement. For example, I can say that I have been watching TV for 2 hours. It means that it has been 2 hours which I am watching TV. And if you want to change your formative sentence to interrogative form, only replace the subject with your two verbs. For example, you only need to bring have an as at the first part of your sentence. Have I been watching TV for 2 hours? If you want to change your sentence from a formative form or assertive form to negative form, only use a not after your to have verbs. For example, you can say that I have not been watching TV for 2 hours. And if you want to change your formative sentence from a formative form to negative interrogative form, on the time you need to use from this structure. Have has plus subject plus not plus been plus verb ing plus complement. For example, I can say that have I not been watching TV for 2 hours. Also, there is another structure for a negative interrogative with a contraction, and we need to use have not or haven't and hasn't before our subject. Haven't I been watching TV for 2 hours? Okay, boys and girls, it was our today's lecture about present perfect progressive tense. Also, I mentioned the rules of using ing. I already mentioned in my previous lecture that when the verbs are ending with those one syllable verbs, I only want to mention it again. Those one syllable verbs which are ending with a consonant and the consonant is preceded by a vowel, on the time we can double the consonant and we can add an ing at the end of them. As well for two syllable verbs that if the second syllable is stressed, on the time we also can just double the last consonant letter and we can use ing at the end of our verbs. And also when a verb ends with ie, we need to change ie to y and add an ing. For more information about rules of using ing, you can watch my previous lectures. Okay, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed and learned some new things from today's lecture. Today's lecture was about present perfect progressive tense. We talked about definition, we talked about structure, and as well we talked about the usage. Do not forget to like and subscribe my YouTube channel and promote your English knowledge with us. Have a nice time, great time, take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.